Good evening again, guys, everyone who's on the call. This is call number 6, guys, so I want to welcome everyone to Money Monday. Money Monday, call number 6. Today is Monday, March the 30th, 2015, and it is 8:05 p.m., which means we're ready to get started on tonight's call. The topic for tonight, again, is we kind of chatted about briefly in the intro and sort of the call before the call, right? Tonight we're going to be talking about a topic that is super important as it pertains to success. And I don't care how old you are or how young you are. If you do not have this trait, this characteristic working for you in full force at all times, it's really, really tough to become successful. And that characteristic that I'm talking about is confidence. It's confidence. So tonight is going to be part 1 of this call. And I haven't decided yet if it's going to be 2 parts or 3 parts or even more parts, because it's just that important to every single thing that you do, okay? But for sure, tonight is part 1. So that we know for sure, okay? So tonight is how to build confidence part 1, and tonight we're going to be focusing on the mental aspect of building confidence, because as we all know, there's always a game within the game. And there's also a game before you start the physical, and that is the mental game. That's what they call, right? I remember one of my old coaches when I used to play basketball back in the day, right? He used to tell me, hey, Sadiq, there's a game before the game. So that's why he wasn't into a whole lot of laughing and joking before the game started, because of your game before the game, right, which is the mental preparation, your mental thoughts, etc., your attitude, all that's part of the mental and the game before the game. If that stuff wasn't right, he knew that whoever that person was who was laughing and joking, or maybe something even happened to him during the day, but he knew that person was going to have potentially a bad game just because of how they were mentally prepared. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, guys. Again, if this is your first call, I welcome you to Money Monday. If this is your second or third or more time listening in, I welcome you back. And again, I'm just really, really happy that you guys are able to join us for this, which is your 30 minutes each week out of the magic 168. There's 168 hours every single week that we have in order to work with and to get things done, to work on achieving our goals. But this is the 30 minutes where, as they say, you sharpen your axe. You get some information that's going to help you become better and sharper on the way to achieving those goals. So if you guys don't know me, I'm Sadiq Ali. So I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm an author. I'm also the founder of Millionaire Manners Academy. And again, most importantly, I started these calls Money Monday, particularly for young people, for younger folks. We have lots of calls as adults and older folks, some of which are very boring, some of which really don't have that much value. So I decided that I wanted to do something for my young folks, a call that would help you guys just see things a little bit differently, a little bit clearer, and that's why we did this, okay? And again, if you're joining this call for the first time, I absolutely want to tell you that I believe in you. And anybody who's, again, this is your return call, I haven't stopped believing in you either. And again, I hope you guys believe in me, because belief is one of those things that the more you have in it in other people, the more they have in you. And again, these are the little things that help us to be able to change the world, guys. So again, as I always say, right, the bad news is that today might have been a rough day, but the good news is that you can fix it tomorrow. And, tomorrow can be 1,000 times better, right? And again, that's always through new experiences, new people, or new information. So hopefully this call represents a couple of those for you, okay? So let's talk about it. So self-esteem and confidence is what we're going to be talking about tonight. But before we get into that, give you a couple ground rules, and then we'll get into tonight's quote of the call, okay? So again, learn something. That's the ground rule that never changes, right? Learn something, and then go and share it. Learn something, take something away from this call. Let that be your goal. I don't want to waste your 30 minutes, and I don't want to waste my time, okay? So I want to make sure that you guys are getting something from this, and when you do, go and share it with somebody that you care about, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, try to take some notes if you can, and then come back to those notes when you're feeling down, or you're feeling less confident, or your attitude isn't that good. Come back to what you've written in your success journal, right? Which, again, should be a place where you also write out things that you've accomplished, things that you're proud of. So not jumping ahead, that's actually one of the ways to build confidence, is to write down the things that you've gotten done. So that way, when you're feeling bad, you can come back and read those things and say, you know what? I did do something. I did accomplish something. That's how you also build confidence, okay? And lastly, I want you guys to, to make the calls interactive. So at the end of the call, we'll take questions. We'll take questions or comments and or suggestions for topics for future calls. Like we said, we're going to be running the confidence series for a couple calls. But after that, it's wide open. I want to make these calls useful for whoever's listening. So the only way to do that is to make sure that I listen to what you guys want. And again, please share these calls in general with somebody that you care about. So each week our goal is to grow the attendance of the call, which has happened. I'm happy to report each week, but everybody who's on this call, next week try to share it with 2 people and invite them onto the call as well. And then we'll go from there. Each week after the call, in case you missed it or there's something that you want to listen to again, you can go to our website, millionaire-manners.com/Money Mondays, and then listen to all the old calls right from the website, okay? So let's do it. If you guys aren't already following us on the social media, on Instagram it's @MillionaireManners. Twitter is also Millionaire Manners. That's MLLNRE Manners. Also on Facebook, it's Millionaire Manners Academy. And again, if you guys want to shoot me a text during the call, you guys can do that too, because I want to make sure that I'm accessible for whoever's listening. This isn't a situation where I'm just going to give you guys a bunch of information. You never hear from me again. Shoot me a text. Take down my cell phone number. It's my direct number. It's 443-271-3604. That's my cell phone number, 443-271-3604. Shoot me a message. Shoot me a question. Just say hello. All right, so let's get going, guys. Tonight's quote of the call. So be ready and write this down. And I also, of course, I'll post it later on on our Instagram or our Facebook page or wherever I remember to, okay? But this is a quick one, okay? Here it is. If you care about what people think about you, you will end up being their slave. Reject and pull your own rope. I'm going to say that one more time because we only have one quote tonight. If you care about what other people think about you, you will end up being their slave. Reject and pull your own rope. When I read that quote, guys, it made me think of several different things. So I wanted to chat about it very, very briefly, and then we'll get into the information part, okay? But before we get into this, right, I want you guys to ask yourself the question. Who is it, right, that you think of all the time? Oh, what are they going to think about when I do this? If it's a person, and again, sure, your parents are a little bit different, right? But if you're always thinking about what everyone thinks before you do something, those are the thoughts that slow us down from action. Those are the thoughts that paralyze us, right? We're thinking about how everyone's going to be looking at our every move instead of just doing. So instead of doing more things, right, because that's one of the traits of the successful is that they're not afraid of failure, that they fail more than anybody else. So you can't become confident in what you're doing, right, if you're always worried about what somebody else is going to say or think about what it is that you do. Guys, just go and do it. Just go and do something, right? So reject that. Reject when other people always have something to say. Reject when people try to make you feel bad about what it is that you're doing, and then pull your own rope. Guide yourself, okay? So don't care about what other people think, okay? Especially if they're not encouraging you and motivating you like true friends do, all right? So I want you guys to think about that. So that's tonight's quote of the call, okay? So like I said before, we're also talking about the mental aspect first because, again, life is also a game, guys. Life is also a game. And the only difference is that instead of having multiple lives, like in a video game, et cetera, right, we only have one life. We only have one life. And that's one of the things that being confident is about. It's about being confident, or should I say, having belief in what we're doing, right? Having faith and having trust in our own selves. That's what makes the game easier. That's what makes life easier, when we have trust and faith in our own selves, okay? And the only difference, like I said, the other difference, should I say, in our lives and that of a video game is the fact that, again, number one, we only have one life. And then number two, there's an infinite number of ways that this thing can go. You can go here, you can go there, you can try new things. And the more of those things that you try, the more experiences that you get. And again, the better equipped you are to handle life that throws different things at you. You can say to yourself, you know what, I did that already. I know exactly what to do. But that only comes from, again, being not nervous or not always thinking about what somebody else is going to think before you try something, okay? So let's talk about this, guys. 5 mental confidence-building tips. 5 mental confidence-building tips, okay? The very first tip, and again, we just shared these at our session on Young Gentlemen's Institute this past Saturday, but I put a different spin on them, especially when we get into the physical confidence-building tips next week, okay? But number 1, the very first mental confidence-building tip, which is actually kind of part mental, it's also part physical. This is the only one that's like it on the list. Number 1 is practice, practice, practice. Let me ask you guys this question, okay? I know the call's on mute. But just follow me because I know you guys know somebody like this. There's somebody that you know, all they do is talk about going to the gym to work out, but they never actually lose any weight. Why is that? Well, because of instead of actually going to the gym, all they do is talk about going to the gym. They never actually do any real work. Okay, so as a result, they don't get any actual results. They never lose weight. They never get the bikini body. They never get the muscles. They never get cut up. They never get all ripped, right? For my gentlemen on the call, they never get any of those results because they refuse to do the work. They haven't figured out that the bad news is that, and this is for everybody on the call, me included, the bad news is that all of us on this call are bad at something, okay? There's something that we just aren't very good at. Okay, that's the bad news is. The good news is that the majority of those things that we could all name that each of us is not good at, we could actually get good at with practice. But, you know, the thing about success and the thing about getting great at something is that it's hard. And what's hard, a lot of people don't like doing. So the question you have to ask yourself, and that's why I said this is part mental and part physical, the question you have to ask yourself is how bad do you want to be great? How bad do you want to be better than average? That's going to encourage you to practice more. That's going to motivate you to do, you know, what I always used to say back in the day, right? One more push-up when somebody else gave up. So instead of doing 20 push-ups, you do 21 or 22. Those little differences, that little bit of practice each and every day, added up over time, is going to put you head and shoulders above everybody else. It's going to put you way ahead in the race. But that's a mentality, though, and that's why I said this is part mental and part physical, because you actually have to do some work, but first you have to visualize what it is that you want, right? That's why practice is so important, okay? And again, this is the difference in talking about being great and doing the work to get there, right? And like I said, you don't want to be the person who all they do is talk about going to the gym, but they never go to the gym. Those people never lose weight. Those people never become great because all they do is talk about it, right? Their jaws getting a workout, but their muscles, their legs, right, those abs, their stomach's not getting a workout because they refuse to do the work. They refuse to practice, okay? So that's tip number 1. Pick something, and here's the action item, okay? Pick something that you want to get good at and write it down. That's the first thing I want you guys to do. Pick something you want to get good at, then write it down. And then ask yourself, how much time are you spending on that right now? What are you prepared to give up in order to be great at it? Does that mean a little less sleep, a little less TV time, less video game time? You have to answer that question. I can't answer it for you, right? But you have to be prepared to give up something in order to get what you want, okay? So that's number 1, practice. Number 2, acknowledge your limitations. Acknowledge your limitations, okay? Now, one of the first things, right, that, you know, should I say, one of the early things about building confidence is the fact that, you know, it takes confidence and courage to admit when you're not good at something, right? And again, here's the fact. You don't have to be good at everything. And the other fact is that very few people, if not, I'll say, you know, we don't like to say the word impossible, right? But it's almost impossible to be good at every single thing that you do. I read an article today. I went to the doctor earlier today, and I just thought of this, right? I went to the doctor earlier today. While I was in a waiting room, I read an article about Lance Armstrong. So, Lance Armstrong was accused of cheating during his time as a world-class cyclist. Okay, he won the Tour de France, which is like a 2-week-long race. It's like 10,000 miles through the mountains on a bike. Okay, so imagine riding your bike through the mountains for 10,000 miles. That's like going back and forth between Maryland, right, the East Coast, and California, 4 or 5 times in a row. So imagine riding your bike through mountains, et cetera. So Lance Armstrong, he did some things he wasn't supposed to do. Lance Armstrong was a great athlete, okay? But the article that I read about Lance Armstrong was in a golf magazine. And I'm no golf player. I was just curious about the topic, so I picked up the magazine and an article. But what Lance Armstrong said during this article was the fact that I am a terrible golf player. I'm a great cyclist, but I'm a terrible golf player. As a matter of fact, I'm probably worse than the average guy living next door, right? So in other words, he acknowledged his limitations. He loved to play golf. He loves to play. He plays all the time, but he acknowledged his limitations, and that allows him to be more confident at what he's good at because he knows that he doesn't have to be good at every single thing, okay? But again, the good news is that even some of the things that you acknowledge that you aren't good at, you can still become good at some of them through practice. But just don't beat yourself up if you're not good at something right now, okay? So acknowledge your limitations. And I don't mean to give up. I just mean don't feel bad about when you're not good at something, okay? So either that just might be something that you're is part of your personality list that you just kind of have a struggle with, right? Or just make up your mind to practice more at it. Okay, so that's number 2, acknowledging your limitations. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being bad at something, right? Just don't let it drag you down. And if you make up your mind to practice at it, you can actually become great at it too. Number 3, guys, is acknowledge your own fear of failure and your own fear in general, right? So many people, right, are scared of something, but they just won't ever admit it. But they don't understand that you gain confidence when you admit it. When you look at your fear right in the face and you admit, hey, you know what, that scares me, you become more confident. You become stronger. See, only weak people act like they're not scared of anything. Everyone is afraid of something. People just don't have the courage to admit it sometimes. And I will tell you, I'm scared all the time of lots of different things. But we talked about this a couple calls ago, right? Courage isn't not feeling any fear at all, right? Confidence isn't feeling no fear at all. It's doing it anyway. That's how you build confidence, by facing your fear, admitting your fear, okay? And especially your fear of failure. During one of our sessions this weekend, one of our partners, Jamil, I don't know if he's on the call, but we'll let him talk about this at the end of the call. He just had a great moment where he shared something very personal and very scary to him. He said, He said that he's scared all the time about maybe losing his job or about maybe not being good enough at his job. And I really, really appreciated him sharing that because that's something that was scary for him. So that took courage. But then he asked himself the question that I'll ask you guys who are on the call to ask yourselves. If you were to fail at whatever it is you're trying, what's the worst that could happen? If you study and you don't get that good grade, right? What's the worst that can happen? Okay, you might fail the test, but you have an opportunity maybe to retake that test or to make up extra credit or study harder the next time. See, that builds your confidence when you acknowledge and you face your fear, and then you ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen, and then you answer it. So the scary thing is that what might be scary at first might not be so scary when you look it in the face. It's like they used to say, again, back in the day, if you look under your bed for the monster, right, you realize that there's no monster under there anyway. Or if you hear that loud noise in the corner of your room and it's dark at night, and again, old people, grown people do it too. But as soon as you go and look for what that noise was, you figure out there was nothing in there to begin with. That was just a blind. The book just fell off the shelf. Now you feel more confident because you faced your fear. That's part of building confidence, guys, is facing your fear. It's just admitting what you're scared of and then doing something about it. So I want you guys to be thinking of what's the worst that can happen, and then also write down, what is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you're afraid of? And then practice facing that fear, okay? Number 4, guys, number 4, and this is a big one, but I want you guys to not compare yourself to others. Number 4 is do not compare yourself to others, except to take away something from those people to add to your own personality. Here's an example, okay? Lots of folks, they might have a favorite basketball player, or they might have a favorite rapper or singer or this or that, okay? I want you guys to write down that person that you look up to, that idol, that mentor, someone who has something that you like, etc. But picture what it is that you like or admire about that person. So many times we have mentors or idols or folks that we admire, and we look at them like they're aliens or like they're superheroes. See, there is something about them that makes them special, but that's what we need to be looking at and looking for, not just looking at them from a distance and not doing anything about it. That doesn't help us. But when I admire, right, I'll give you guys an example. And I hope Dwight is listening to this, right? My stepson Dwight, he loves Kobe Bryant. I don't know if he's listening. But we always talk about Kobe this, Kobe that, right? Kobe's his favorite player. But only recently I started to admire Kobe for a number of reasons, but most particularly around his leadership and his attention to detail and his desire to be excellent is what I admire about Kobe. So I heard his interview over the weekend. He just talked about the differences in different leaders, okay, and how leaders, and we've already talked about this once on a call, right? So this is one of those things to add to your leadership list. Leaders have to feel comfortable being uncomfortable with that awkward moment. Okay, I'll say that one more time. One of the things that leaders have to do is become comfortable with those uncomfortable, awkward moments. And then that's when you give people who follow you feedback. So when he said that, I was like, man, I really admire that, and that's something that I can add into my own personality in terms of leadership. So I didn't just admire Kobe because he has a lot of money or he's won, NBA championships or he's the 3rd all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He's all of those things. That's not why I admire him. I admire him for something that I can take away and add to my personality. So the next time you guys are in the library, grab a biography of somebody that you admire. Read their story and figure out what's something that you can take from them to make yourself better. Don't just admire them from a distance like they're more special than you. They're not more special than you. There's only one of you. There's only one of them. You guys are equally as special based on that fact. But look for what you can take from them to help make yourself better. Don't just admire them from a distance. Superstars and these people, they aren't for us to worship them. They're for us to take from, to learn from, not to feel bad about ourselves because we have nothing to feel bad about. That was number 4, guys. Number 5, to wrap it up, number 5, guys, is I want everybody on this call, and if you have your pen and pad right now, do it right now. I want you guys to write out a list of at least 3 things that you like about yourself and then 3 things that you're really, really good at. Do it right now. Things that you like about yourself. And maybe, you know what? Maybe, honestly, you don't even, maybe you can't think of 3 things. Maybe it's just 1 or 2. Write them out. I don't care. And then, again, 2 or 3 things that you're really, really good at. And if you can think of more, even better. Write out all of them because we're going to use these things next week when we talk about the next 5 tips physically, things that you can do even as part of building your confidence, okay? But I want you guys to write out that list of 3 things and look at that list often. Write that list of 3 things you like about yourself and then 3 things that you're really good at, right? And look at that list often. That's how you build confidence because chances are those are 3 things, right? That combination of 3 and 3, you have the only combination just like that. 3 things that you're really, really good at and then 3 things that you like about yourself. You probably have a unique combination right there, things that can help you be more confident. Okay, guys? So those are the 5 tips for tonight, guys, about building confidence mentally, the mental aspect of the confidence building game, okay? Really quickly to recap. Number 1, practice, practice, practice. Preparation and repetition breeds confidence. If you want to get good at something, and feel confident when you walk into the room or before you start a task, then practice it beforehand. If you have a speech to give at school or presentation to give at work, practice it before you give it. You'll feel 1,000% more confident. Number 2, acknowledge your limitations. You don't have to be good at every single thing, but you can be great at what you're already good at. Number 3, acknowledge your own fear of failure and acknowledge your own fear in general. Okay, sometimes we don't attempt greatness because we're scared we're going to fail. So that's number 3, acknowledge your own fear of failure. Number 4, do not compare yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to others and thinking about, hey, what it is that you don't have, okay? Only compare yourself to others when you're going to take something from their personality and add it into yours. Number 5, write out a list of things that you're good at, and then write out a list of things that you like about yourself, and read that list often. Read that list all the time. All right, guys, that's all the information that I have for you guys for tonight on this call number 6 for Money Mondays. I'd love to hear from you all, so please either shoot us a tweet or unmute yourself right now, *6, and love to take some questions or comments. Oh, also, I'd love to hear also how you guys might have used the information from last week's call during the week. So anybody who'd like to share, *6, *6, so I can hear from you, so everybody in the call can hear from you. Anybody who wants to share anything. And again, you don't have to, but I'd love to hear from you. You guys are shy. You guys are being shy.
Hello,
Anybody want to? Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is Katie Marie, and this is my first time being on the call. And you have referred to me from a good friend of mine. And so although I wasn't on the call last week, I just wanted to say your presentation is so easy. That's one thing. It's a lot of times when you get on a call and sometimes you get lost with what they're saying. And so for once, I wasn't lost, so I wanted to thank you for that. And
awesome. I'm glad. Thank you.
Your tidbits are really great. So I just wanted to let you know, out of all things, like, the call is definitely worth getting on again.
Really, really appreciate that. And please just share the word with somebody that you got love for and that you respect too. I really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Anybody else, guys? Question, comment, any topics that you'd like to hear about in the future for us to discuss, or maybe how you've used some of the information that we've talked about? And again, you guys can tag a picture on Instagram, right? Shoot us a tweet, text me, email me, all that good stuff. All right, guys, that's it. Listen, I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer than we have to. Again, if there's something that you'd like to say now, *6, last call. And if not, guys, again, I'll give my number one more time. If you guys think of something later on, and again, if you want to shoot a message to me via Facebook, I'm at Sadiq Ali, Sadiq A. Ali on Facebook, and also Millionaire Mariners Academy. You guys can shoot me a message anytime, okay?
Well, we really appreciate you, and the boys have you locked in, so they'll be there every Monday.
That sounds good. Really, really appreciate it. Is that Eula?
Yes, it is.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. What about you?
Very good. I had no complaints at all.
That's a blessing.
All right, guys. So that's it for the call for tonight. Really appreciate everybody hopping on. Share the call with somebody that you love, and I'll talk to you guys next week.